Alright, YouTube. Let's do this. Let's do this, YouTube. Alright. I'm an idiot without structure. Trying to get to the point that I'm making these videos and I'm looking back over them and I'm saying, oh my god, I'm just a complete moron. And I'm umming and ahhing and hemming and hawing and I don't know what's going on. And my cat fucks up shit and he knocks over the camera and he bites on the microphone. And it's just a giant mess and I don't really know what's going on. And it makes me look like a complete idiot. And okay. Right. I'm not going to try to defend that. I'm an idiot in a lot of ways, and not as much of an idiot in some others. So, but it's not doing anything to help me out here. So what I'm going to try to do is not make this rambly, long, posty thing, and try to have more structure in the future, and so on and so forth. But what can you do? I'll also try to keep the cat hair off my face, so it doesn't look like I'm constantly wiping the blow off of my nose. Anyway, number two is the last video I did was the one about Singer and Dawkins, the interview and the whole thing, and there seems to be some misunderstanding of what I was trying to say there. The main point was the strain of logic that was going through the whole video between Singer and Dawkins, that it's speciesist to say that we dominate over animals, and the reason I brought up that killer whales don't give a shit about seals is because they're unconcerned with the suffering. In a better example, I think maybe I've never seen a troop of squirrels run down from a tree after a turtle got hit and say, "Oh my God, turtle, are you okay? Turtle, please get up. Let us help you to the pond," or whatever would help out a turtle that's been hit by a car. I don't know where a turtle would go, but the point is that as far as I can tell, or far as I've ever been able to discern, animals, we are the only animal that gives concern to the suffering of other species. No other animal I've ever seen gives a shit. That's half of it. The other half is that it's not just a question of animal suffering, it's also a question of health and survival, because these kids that I point out at the beginning of the video, they needed proper nutrition that they were not getting from a strictly vegan or vegetarian diet. And that's not to say that you couldn't supplement it with vitamins or something like that. I was just pointing out that naturally that's what we're supposed to be doing. We have the ability to make the choice to say that we don't have to, and thanks to science, we can. Because if it wasn't for science, we wouldn't have all the understanding of nutrition and vitamins and all that kind of good stuff that we could take as supplements to a vegan or vegetarian diet. Okay. The other point is, in the video previous to the Dawkins Singer video, they posted a video on richarddawkins.net thing of Steven Pinker and Dawkins doing an interview, and this one was about evolutionary misfires, or superfire, or whatever it was called. Essentially, it's the same concept as when you see a moth flying into a flame, and you say, "That's dumb. Why does the moth fly into a flame? That's just stupid, right?" And my phone's getting a call. 1 second. And I'm back from my phone call, and I was talking about a moth. The moth is flying towards the flame. And we wonder, well, that's stupid. Why is the moth flying to the flame? That's really dumb. What kind of evolution could make the moth flying to the flame? Well, it's not an evolutionary thing. It's a misfiring of an evolutionary thing. You see, the moth has evolved to fly towards a spot of light in the sky at a certain angle. Let's just call it 15 degrees. And the moth sees a spot of light down here, and it doesn't recognize it as not being the same spot of light in the sky, and it flies towards it and says, no, I'm not at 15 degrees anymore, so I have to turn. So it turns, and it starts flying again, and oh, no, I'm not at 15 degrees anymore, so I have to turn, and it turns again, and then it starts flying, and as you go, it gets the spiral down and down and down and down, and eventually it flies into the flame. That's not, I'm not saying that's 100% accurate, I'm just saying that's a possible solution to the problem. And this relates back to the previous point about how they were talking about it speciesist to say we dominate animals, or speciesist to say that we consider animal suffering. It's speciesist to say that we should dominate animals, so we should be concerned with their animal suffering. I'm saying that it is, it seems to me to be speciesist either way, but one of the possible things is that we have a evolutionary misfire of whatever causes our empathy to be superimposed over all species and all suffering. And then that relates forward to atheism, because a lot of times I get these questions where a theist will come to me and be like, well, what about, someone saving a child from another car? It's just another tribe. Who cares? You shouldn't have to care. And I'm saying that maybe it's an evolutionary misfire. I'm not giving it that as a definite form of evidence. I'm just giving that as some sort of explanation. Probably not the right one, probably not even close to valid, but hey, it's just something to think about. Moving on to the next point, which is I don't actually hate vegans and vegetarians. I showed the video to a friend of mine, kind of made it look like it seemed like I was like trying to attack vegans and vegetarians. The reason I said I don't have any respect for vegans or vegetarians is because the majority of the ones that I meet don't think critically about their belief in veganism or vegetarianism. I'm just going to say veganism from now on because it's just an easier tack to trade. What? Did I say something? Track to take. The point is that it starts out with that evolutionary misfire of sympathy for animals, and you look at these animals, and say, oh God, I don't want to, these animals are suffering, it causes me great harm, I feel suffering inside me because of whatever empathy is going on, and I don't want that to happen. And you look at the hamburger and you say, oh shit, this hamburger is meat from an animal that had suffering over there, and now that same empathy thing is firing in my brain. So now I have this empathy triangle, menage a trois of empathy that is painful, and I don't want to deal with it. So I'm not going to eat the meat. Okay. I get it. I understand. The problem is that the ones that I meet leave it at that and don't consider it any further. They don't consider why or any of the backstory. And the examples I gave at the beginning of the last video was about people not thinking critically and not understanding what it is that they're trying to do and why they're trying to do it. You're eating animals because you're not eating animals because you don't want to cause suffering. That doesn't mean that it's okay for everyone to not eat animals. Yeah, and I think that's pretty much it. And I want to clarify that I'm not saying that all vegans and vegetarians are uncritical thinking schmucks who don't know what's going on. Plenty of vegans and vegetarians out there, I'm sure, are very critical, smart people. I'm pretty sure Emendum, that I haven't watched all his videos, or I've only watched a very few, is vegan or vegetarian or something along that lines, and he seems like a pretty smart cat, pretty critical, logical thinker. I'm not trying to paint them all with the same broad brush, especially here. If I was in person with someone, I'd be more than happy to scream and yell and grit in their face and call them all kinds of terrible names. But that's not what I'm trying to do here. What I like to do here is try and open up lines of discussion and try and throw a couple of ideas out there and see what people think, and then tell some people what I think about their ideas. The only way I'm going to expand my horizons as far as thought and knowledge go is if I am able to put my ideas in conflict with other people's ideas. And I can't do that alone. And I'm trying to do that here in a non-confrontational sort of way. And I guess that's pretty much it. That was a quicker video than I expected, and peace.